the way it's going to go is, we'll start with one end, go to Desiree first. Each one will have 2 minutes to give you introductions. When the questions start, we ask our audiences to bring some questions in addition to the ones that you have. We may not get to all the questions, we'll do the best we can. The way it's going to work is we're going to put the question together, or this issue, and whoever wants to talk, just please raise your hand. We have a mic runner, is going on the mic to you. Okay? And the limit is 2 minutes. Between 1 and 2 minutes, and we have a guy here keeping track. He's going to show you when you got a 1 minute or 2 minute, 30 second, whatever, so that we can write on time. But one thing I do want to, I'm very grateful and thankful that you candidates have taken your precious time to grace our organization to come and speak to us on the issues that we are more concerned about. Thank you so much. So with that, Desiree got it.
Desiree, it's right up in front of your mouth. Yeah, just hold it like it's horizontal.
Okay, I grew up in a Baptist church, so I think I should be okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Desiree Timms, born and raised in Dayton, proud graduate of the best high school in Dunbar. I will be joining some of my soon-to-be lovely colleagues in the State House next General Assembly. I will represent House District 38, which includes much of West Dayton, a little empty piece of downtown, South Park, and all of Trotwood. When we think about issues that are important to our community, as a daughter of Dayton, Phil, that's the nickname, daughter of Dayton. As a daughter of Dayton, we have 2 issues, affordability and availability. And so we need to make sure we pack that AA battery back into our community. We need more housing available, and it needs to be more affordable. So I will be a big proponent for economic development, driving more opportunities into our community, and hopefully representing more little girls who look like me to let them know that they can go far, far, far and be a public servant. Thank you so much for having me. I have another event. I'm headed to University of Dayton to talk to some of our amazing students. But I look forward to getting to know all of you in the coming months and days ahead. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, thanks a lot for coming and for the opportunity to meet everybody. My name is LYNN Cooper, and I am the unindicted candidate for the Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. I think it's important to point that out just because I believe this office is very important that you have integrity and that an ethical leader is serving there. While it is an indictment, it is not a conviction yet. I will tell you that where there's smoke, there is fire, and I will say that you cannot have any whiff of scandal when you are the Clerk of Courts. Many people don't know what the Clerk of Courts does. There are 2 mandated services. The first is the keeper of the court's record. That's one of the primary reasons why I think you have to be an ethical leader in this office. The other is the auto title division, so where you're going to be transferring your titles, where you can get your passports, where you can do the TSA pre-checks. So those mandated services are important. I have been a public servant for 23 years. I started under the original Foley, under Dan Foley, and he was my first boss. I started part-time as a deputy clerk, and I've worked my way through, and I've worked for the courts. I've worked for the clerks again. I was the chief deputy of the legal division, so I know how the office operates. I have Republican support, I have Democrat support, so I'm really excited to be able to get into the office. I want to make sure that our mandated services are shored up, that the customer service is top of the line. I know for your office, when I was at the clerk's office, you would come down, or your title companies would come down and want to see what are the liens that are on the properties, the state tax liens. I want to make sure if there's data we can send, however we can help you guys do your business better, we'll be there to help. So I am hoping, with my experience, I also believe in fiscal responsibility. I think it's really important that you man an office not based on who your friends are, that you have the best qualified people that are there. So I think it's important to have that be ethical and fiscally responsible. So I hope you'll vote Cooper for clerk in November.
morning, good evening. It's good to be back with GDREA. I spent my birthday with you in July and was here last year to do a presentation on deed fraud. So I'm glad to be back, and I thank you for having this. As you know, I am your Montgomery County recorder. And I was appointed last year to replace our former recorder, Brandon McClain. And when I came on, one of the things that I was dealing with was deed fraud because I was his chief deputy. And many of you have heard me say that there was an increase in the amount of deed fraud. And so when I became the recorder, I wanted to do a couple of things. I wanted to educate people about deed fraud and make sure that the community knew that that was real. And when I came here, we talked about ways that as investors, that what you should be looking for, what you should be doing as investors to ensure that your property that you're purchasing is actually, the owner is actually who you're buying it from. And so I've been the last year focused on how do I improve these or lower these numbers when it relates to deed fraud. And so as the recorder, I've done a couple things. We've increased the number of people enrolled in the fraud alert notification system so that you know when you get a property that that property belongs to who is trying to sell it to you. I've become actively involved with the Secretary of State and the notaries, and so we now have reported 10 notaries who are responsible for fraudulently stamping these for these properties that you're buying. And we have reported 2 of them have lost their credentials. And we have also worked with the auditor's office to change up the process. So as many of you know, when you come in to record your deeds, they will now be coming to the recorder's office first. So we will be checking for fraud first. And then the property will be transferred so that you're never in the position of you're holding a property that what I call is deed purgatory. So at the recorder's office, we have really been working on our programming and things that will help you as investors when you're purchasing property, when you're selling property, to ensure that the property that you are purchasing is actually your property and it has a good title. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm County Commissioner Debbie Lieberman. I am the incumbent, and I am so happy to be here. You know, we've come to this event over the years. 4 years ago, during COVID, we didn't really get to have one. I think we might have done it by Zoom. But I'm always happy to be with real estate investors, real estate people. After law school, I moved here from Indianapolis, to go to law school at UD. And I stayed here, and one of the first jobs I had was working for a real estate developer. And, you know, I learned so much in that process. And then I went to work for the county auditor, and I think I met a few of you when I was in the director of real estate for the county auditor. So I have had a wealth of experience, not just in county government, but in the real estate side of county government. And when I look at the things that are happening here in our county, in our state, one of the biggest crises, as you all know, is in housing, right? I mean, we have got to do a better job of creating, building new housing. And that's everything from what we call workforce housing to what our big builders are doing. So we have in Montgomery County right now thousands of jobs in the pipeline, thousands. But if we don't do something about housing, those jobs, my children, my grandchildren, whoever, are going to be living with us. So I'm preaching to the choir here, but that is one of the things that I want to work on and change, is to get all of our jurisdictions that are really pushing back, not in my backyard types, and I want us to get on the same page and to figure out what works for this county. The other thing, you said 2 things, right, Sham? 2 things we want to change. You know, I've been known for years as someone that works across the aisle. And I don't look at our county as a Republican way or a Democrat way in the job that I do as a county commissioner. And I just want to continue to serve all of you now that my time is up. Thank you.
Well, hello everybody. I am John McManus. I'm the Montgomery County Treasurer, and it is great to be back with you. The last time I was here, I was doing a presentation on, I think it was tax liens and foreclosures and just about everything else, and it was a great time with you all. And so thank you to Sham and many of the wonderful people in here who were putting this on. And so what in the world does the county treasurer do? Most of you probably know if you're interested in investment properties, but the county treasurer serves as the county's property tax collector, banker, and investment officer, and also serves as a member of the board of directors of the Montgomery County Land Bank. So it's a really important position, and it's important that, that we do great work in that position. So I look forward to telling you all about the great things we've done over the last 3 years it's been now. I really appreciate all the topics you have on this list, so I look forward to talking about delinquent utility assessments, tax liens, foreclosures. So this is going to be a lot of fun. But thank you. I want to also thank you for all the great work that folks in this room do. It is folks like you who are in this room who are ensuring that you are taking a look at these properties that exist, not just in the city of Dayton, but all over Montgomery County, taking a look at which properties are still viable, fixing them up, investing into them, paying the taxes, hello, thank you, and then using those properties to generate income that is then reinvested back into our community. So thank you for what you do. I literally couldn't do it without y'all. And so it's an honor to serve as your county treasurer, and I look forward to the discussion this evening. Thank you.
Thanks for having us this evening. I'm Tom Young, 37th House District, which is southern Montgomery County. I serve as the chair of higher education in Ohio, the pensions committee, finance committee, and the study committee on property taxes. And so a lot of challenges that affect every single one of you in the room. And I would also like to say that I'm the sponsor of HB 480, which is the squatters bill. And we have an emergency feature on that bill, and the chairman has told me that they will accelerate that process, and hopefully we can get that done during lame duck. We've worked very closely with you all. The thing also that you play a role in is we obviously have a housing shortage. And you all step to the plate to get the things done. But we don't incentivize you very much. We penalize you, but we do not incentivize you. And I think what we hope to do in the next General Assembly, which we've tried previously, is to use housing tax credits from the state level. We have them at the federal level, but housing tax credits to incentivize those who use existing properties in areas that we need neighborhoods, and to make them safer and grow. So thank you very much for having me this evening.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your busy lives to come and listen to a bunch of politicians and wannabe politicians. Please hold our feet to the fire, because we need our feet to be held to the fire. I'm Phil Plummer, used to be your sheriff here in Montgomery County. I'm working on my fourth term already in the House. That's going to be 8 years. Time flies when you're having fun. If you guys want to run for the House, I recommend you don't do it, because it ain't a whole lot of fun. But Desiree's going to join us, so I wish she wouldn't have left. I like to razz her a little bit. Myself and Andrea, we've worked on some good bills this year. We've made street takeovers. You know, people, they call it hooning, doing street takeovers, running from the police, killing innocent people. So we passed that bill not long ago. They just took over Cleveland again. I got calls from the Cleveland News wanting to know when our bills actually goes into law. That's 90 days after the governor signs it, it goes into law. So that's going to be kicking in here shortly. We've lowered your taxes the last two General Assemblies. Yes. Lowered country taxes. We're going to get rid of all income tax for you guys. We've got a problem right now. You guys see it. It's these, 1 minute or Scott. It's these, people are buying up houses, putting juveniles in them. And that's the kids that are out stealing our cars, wreaking havoc across our communities. We have 88 group homes in our communities right now. So myself and Andrea are working on putting guardrails around that to slow the crime down. You know, we got some issues in this community, and a lot of it's juveniles. You know, we're seeing the fights again at RTA, fights at Belmont, fights at the libraries. This is easy stuff to solve. A lot of it is these group homes. We're bringing in people from Cleveland and Toledo, dumping them into Dayton. They don't mix well with our kids, and all you know it breaks loose. So Scott's got me at 30 seconds. My two goals are to keep lowering our taxes, keep our community safe, my main passion is why I went to Columbus is work on mental health issues. You know, nobody wants to have a mental health problem. Our hearts go out to people with mental health problems. So we need to do a better job here in our community of doing that. So we're going to keep sending money back for that. 5 seconds, time's up, and here's Andrea White.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I will tell you, every time I'm with you all, I get great energy and ideas because you are the entrepreneurs, you are the people building, fixing up, revitalizing our communities, and providing homes, a place to call home for so many in our community. So I want to thank you for the work you do, and the more that you feed us ideas, the more we're able to put little things in here and there, try to get access to capital. A couple of the things, I've been a state representative now for 4 years in the 36th district. It has changed each time. So this time, once again, I'll have Kettering and Oakwood. The new district will include Riverside, which it used to include half of it, now all of it. And then a totally different, almost, makeup of Dayton. So over the course of now 4 years and now running, I've been in many, many, many neighborhoods in Dayton, from West Dayton through East Dayton, the downtown area and the historic districts, Old North Dayton, and then east, like Hearthstone, Linden Heights, all those areas. There's a lot of wonderful housing, there's a lot of issues. And I think that number one, what I hear a lot, I was the elected clerk of court for 17 years at Kettering Municipal Court. And we saw a lot of issues with housing, right? With evictions, with people trying to, you know, when they get criminal records and their lives get turned upside down. So with my kind of business consulting background, I'm always looking at hold apart. Begin with the end in mind. We need healthy, productive adults who can support themselves and their families. How do we get there? By investing in our early childhood, investing in quality early learning and K through 12, career tech, building the trades, helping people dream and have a pathway. And so that's what I work on. I work on mental health, criminal justice, housing. I have some great ideas on how to get the treasurer to put some of our state money into getting access to capital for you guys who are building our community. So we'll talk more, but thank you so much for tonight.
Thank you all. I stand on my true north, which is preamble to the Ohio Constitution, being grateful to Almighty God for our freedom to secure the blessings that we will create in Ohio and to promote the general welfare and common good. I am Charlotte McGuire. I have served as your state board rep for 7 years, covering 5 counties and 44 school districts, and I visited them all. I am an engager. I like on-the-ground intel. I need to hear from you what's going on, not from the politicians. I do love you all, but I need to hear from the people. I have 40 years of what I call executive leadership. I've been municipal government director for community affairs. I was an entry-level accountant for federal programs. I've been the president and CEO of nonprofits such as Project Impact, working with crack addict families and bringing them to life. Now, what do I see for you? I've also worked on behalf of the elderly. I've worked to be sure the homeless who are displaced have some place to go. I've worked to be sure that everybody had opportunities that I had. That's because I was born on the wrong side of the Mason-Dixon line. I am classified as a colored girl on my birth certificate. The Jim Crow laws were against me. All I want for everybody is that they have opportunity, that they are valued, that they have work, that hard work and dedication can pay off, and they can achieve the American dream no matter what your race, color, creed, or zip code is. Thank you.
My name is Rose Lounsbury. I am running for state representative in House District 36, which, as Rep. White said, is Kettering, Oakwood, Riverside, East Dayton, and downtown Dayton. I am a former public school teacher. I taught for 7 years at Northmont Schools and also at West Carrollton Schools. I'm currently a small business owner. I have a decluttering and simplicity coaching business, so it might be of interest to you. If you want to declutter your closets, you can check that out. And I am a mom of triplets who are 15 years old. And the reason that I'm running is because I want to create a state that my kids and yours are going to want to live in someday. So 2 of the big priorities that are important to me, the number 1 priority for me as the next state rep is to reduce the wasteful spending that is happening in our state house. So some of the things that are happening, and the reason that it is so problematic is because those costs are being passed directly on to us property owners. I only own one property here in Dayton. Many of you own dozens, and so it actually affects you more than it affects someone like me. So a couple things that I've seen very recently in our state house that are problematic to me. We spent 18 million taxpayer dollars on a special election back in August of 2023. The entire goal of that election was to try to silence people from voting, to change the rules for passing constitutional amendments. There was no reason for it, but it cost $18 million. And that's the kind of spending that I just don't think we can afford. Another type of spending that really bothers me is we've spent this year alone $1 billion taxpayer dollars on a voucher program that is paying private school tuition, mostly for families that could already afford the tuition. And I want you to think about what happens when schools, libraries, municipalities, when they don't get enough money from the state, which they're not getting, they're going to raise your property taxes, which is what they're doing. I'm curious about Mr. Plummer's lowered property taxes, lower taxes, because my taxes haven't gone down, and I don't know about you all, but what I have seen is my taxes go up year after year after year, and it's because we're wasting money at the State House. So that is my #1 priority, and the second is to protect people's personal freedoms to vote and have your own medical decisions be private. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me here. Phil, it's all right, man. My name is Mohammed Al-Hamdani. I'm the current chairman of the Montgomery County Democratic Party. I'm running to be your next treasurer. I'm running against John, but John and I have actually had a very similar career, believe it or not. We both started on the Dayton Public Schools. He was vice president, then I became vice president. And after that, I think you replaced me after I left the clerk of court's office, and you became the legal deputy. With LYNN. With LYNN, right? Yeah. Three chief deputies. Right, 3 chief deputies here for the clerk of court's office. We didn't work for anybody that was, you know, like a colonel, right? So, and then now I'm trying to run to replace him. So, you know, I just thought we'll keep it going, Scott. So, Desiree left. She said she was from the best high school in Dayton. I would take, issue with that. I graduated from Colonel White High School, and I think that's the best high school in Dayton, or whatever it was, anyways. But she left. So, I've been in Dayton for most of my life. I came here when I was 10 years old. You guys probably hear a lot about refugees. I was a former refugee. I grew up in St. Anne's Hill in Dayton. Like you, I'm a real estate investor. 2 years ago, I had no properties. Today, I have 4 rentals, 1 vacation rental, and I'm currently flipping 2. My advice to you is to start with 1, make sure it's the first one is successful, all right? That's what I would tell you. If I get elected to be your next treasurer, the 2 things I want to focus on, I'm glad you brought this up. Our real estate taxes, obviously, with the historic rise and home evaluations have increased, and there's a hardship created on our community. So finding solutions to help those who are having a hard time paying their taxes. I think I read recently that delinquencies have gone up by 6%, from 10% to 16% in Montgomery County. So in finding ways to help people pay those delinquencies in a timely manner to avoid lien foreclosures. All right, and that's my time. Thank you.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Mary McDonald and I am the former mayor of the city of Trotwood, Ohio. So I've had 18 years of working in city government. And I worked with a city that was very, very challenged. And I'm sure many of you have followed the challenges that the city of Trotwood had, re-identifying itself from a retail community to the community that it is now. I've seen some really great things happen as a result of the work that I did the 8 years that I was the mayor of the city. And I'm excited to do those same things with the county commission. One of the areas that I am really concerned with is the area of transparency and giving you the opportunity to be heard, giving you the opportunity to create input so that we are legislating properly in ways that are helpful to you. Very often, we think that we are doing things that work for people, but we're not listening to them. And I think listening to you is what's going to make a difference. I am a former property owner and had several properties at one particular time in my life, and I do know the challenges of that work and of taking care of people. Housing is a big issue in Montgomery County. It is so important that we create an opportunity for people to be able to live, move, and breathe in a community that they can afford to live in. And that comes as we work to make sure that our legislation fits the bill to make sure that when you invest, you may be able to do those things properly. So again, I'm excited to be here and to be able to do this work. I'm excited to be with you and to listen to the ideas that you have. And I'm sure that together we're going to be able to build a wonderful Montgomery County. And it's time for a fresh look and a fresh approach. It's time for new things.
Good evening, my name is Rodney CREECH. I'm from Preble County. I think I'm the only one up here that's not from Montgomery County. But I represent all of Preble County. I'll be representing Western Montgomery County and also Northern Butler County. I'm a fourth-generation grain farmer. Also in a local business called LYNN Plus. And a lot of people have never heard of LYNN Plus, but if you give a weed an inch, it'll take a yard. We'll be celebrating 20 years next year. Very excited about that. And I got into politics. My grandfather was a township trustee when I was a kid. And so I started out as a township trustee, served there 7 years before I became county commissioner, served there for 6 years. I'm currently in the 4th year as a state rep. I can tell you that property taxes are a top priority. House Bill 187, or always look it up. Your auditor from this county is the one that killed the bill. So House Bill 187, we are focusing hard on property taxes. We will continue to do so, but we keep running into roadblocks, and your county auditor was a big one. And so I'm very upset about that, and I'm not going to pull back on that. So Rose, check into that. The other thing that I would tell you is that's very important to me is equal parenting. I've been working on this, my second GA, that we worked on this bill. I'm going to continue working on the next General Assembly. I feel like both parents are important when fit, and our court systems are designed to usually benefit one parent and not both. I've lived it, I've seen it, and I know a lot of the people it's gone through too. We have a lot of mothers and fathers out here that want to be good parents, and the courts are not allowing them. So with that said, I'm looking forward to this evening, and if anybody's got any questions afterwards, be sure and talk to us.
Thank you. Mike?
Hello, everybody. Apologize, I was late. Is this on? Yeah. All right, cool. I was coming out from another forum out in Greene County, so I apologize. My name's Michael Harbaugh, running against Mike Turner for Congress. I'm actually running as an independent candidate, one of the first independent candidates around here in this. Is this working? I'll just use my voice. I don't need it. But we haven't had an independent candidate out here in forever. There was a guy that ran in 2016, didn't really run much of a campaign. I have run a completely grassroots campaign this entire last year. You can check my social media. I've been everywhere. I've been in the city. I've been to Washington, D.C. I've been out on the streets. I believe that we deserve politicians that are going to tell us how it is, and that people aren't going to hide behind desks and corporate donors. I probably wouldn't have to run for office if we've had some good representation around here. The cold hard facts is that Mike Turner has never met a war he hasn't liked. He was wrong on Iraq, on Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Ukraine, and Israel. And you know what? We got forever wars forever. And the reality is that our natural resources and the wealth of this great country is being stolen from us and put over to them. We don't have good infrastructure in this country. We don't have affordable housing. China is kicking our ass with high-speed rail. Their whole country is developed with high-speed rail, while we got people living under every bridge here. Don't have affordable health care. Our schools are failing. Our teachers are quitting to go get jobs at Walmart, which is fine, but I think teachers should be one of the highest paid professions in this country. So I've been running a really grassroots campaign. Please check me out. I've been all over the district. And one thing I'd like to announce tonight for the first time that I put together today is I'd like to talk about what's going on in Asheville, North Carolina. Those people down there have gotten devastated by a biblical flood. And where the heck is our government at? We're the richest country. The only problem with those people there in North Carolina is they're not Ukrainian or Israeli, or else we get billions of dollars to go down there and save those people. I'm taking my food truck down there. I'm a food truck owner. I'm going down there on Monday. Check out my website if you'd like to donate some supplies. Thank you.
Hear me? No? How about now? No. How about now?
Oh, maybe, almost.
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. Just wanted to once again thank our candidate. I do want to let you know we are one of the 14 chapters in Ohio of Ohio REIA, Ohio Real Estate Investors Association. Most of you probably met Dan Acton at the state level. He's our Director of Legislative Affairs for the Ohio REIA. So we're not alone by ourselves. We've been here 48 years. She's been here a long time. Not longer than I've been here. I do want to, one more thing of appreciation. The legislators and the elected people that stop at our picnic in July, around the July 4th, we greatly appreciate your help. It makes us so happy that you stop by, even for a few minutes. That's about it. Now I'm going to turn back to Marsha here.
See if I can get one of them to work. I want to also, I don't know, most of you don't know, we have a couple representatives from the Dayton Tenants Union here. We are going to be working with them in the coming months on talking about how we can have the expectations we have of tenants and how they can help them with that. So we are doing a collaborative event with them, and thank you very much for coming tonight. Okay, does anybody here have any of the postcards or the cards for questions? Let's put these guys on the spot. This is our chance. I got the mics too. Any questions? Okay. Come on. Better rough us up. Yeah. Jump on. Now he told me he keeps squatters out of my house. Where are we? Where are we with the squatters?
Squatters bill?
Uh-huh.
There are two bills, 478 and 480. We've had extensive hearings on them. I'm sorry. We've had extensive hearings on the bills. We have just waiting. We took the bill all the way to the end of the session on the capital budget, which Andrea CREECH, the CREECHer, and Phil and I brought $34 million back to our region. It's just not working. Shannon. Hello. Can you hear me? Okay, good, that's it. So I've had lengthy discussions with the chair, Cindy Abrams, and we really haven't had any opposition in committee. We hope to, if we can go into lame duck, and we don't go back until November the 20th. And so we're hoping that we can get a hearing to vote it out onto the floor. And if not, we're going to do everything we can to try to get it into legislation if we do have a vote in lame duck. And because it's had sufficient hearings, we have no opposition from the Senate. And I think if it can go to a conference committee, we can get it done. I purposely put an emergency attachment to the bill, which helped accelerate its movement. It's just a policy move. So we're hoping that we could use this bill in lame duck so that other bills can be attached to it because it is an emergency should we need it. So it's a good bill. I've had no opposition whatsoever to it, and people are behind this. And you guys know it's very real, and it's happening constantly. Yep. And we have to move on it. So so far so good, but we're running out of time.
Okay, then my question is, something that's this important, has no opposition, why does it take so long?
Well,
When did you introduce that? Just this spring, right?
Yeah, it was introduced this spring.
So it's moving fast.
When you saw the YouTube video of the gentleman who's saying that you can do all this and advising people that this is how you take over someone's property, it was moved. It's moved very, very quickly. And so then we went into recess. And so the legislative process, people talk about the democracy all the time, but we're a constitutional republic. And the founding fathers wanted incremental government. So the idea is to try to use whatever strategy we can to get it through. But I promise you this, if we don't have enough time to get this through, it'll be a priority in the next General Assembly.
Okay. Speaking again about a House bill that is going through, what about the one that governments, local governments can put a tax lien on the property without really notifying the owner.
Is that 92?
93.
93.
How does
Anybody want to address
that
that, Andrea?
happen and why?
Well, I think in terms of the utility issue, you know, can you hear me? I had a rental at one time, and it's really, really not fair for our real estate investors and people who own property to be penalized when someone's not paying their bills. And so I think this bill is a great bill to help make sure that the safeguards are in place so that people aren't held accountable. And you guys have brought this up to us, and there is a bill, and we support being able to move this through. Again, I will tell you, the last 2 years, we've had the least productive legislative session because of all the conflict, okay? And so what we are hoping for is that we can move a lot of bills because we truly believe this is an important one. People should be held accountable and responsible for the bills they ring up. And the people who provide the rental should not be penalized. So there's a lot of support for that.
I think one of the key features of this legislation is slowing the process for the lien.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, first of all, there's no transparency, and then you get a lien on your property. So this provides transparency, provides a process for all of you to be able to control the liens before they hit your, the debts before they hit your property. It's a complete change to what it is right now.
Yeah, just
where you
get
have no
notified
voice,
would
no
be
nothing.
nice.
Well,
Yeah.
and then to be able to fight that.
Right.
Yeah, but we gotta know about it first.
That's correct. That's the major feature of this legislation is the
Yeah,
transparency.
When you were mayor, not notifying people of liens against their property before it goes on their taxes. It came through traffic. I'm not talking the water bill at all. No, that's a whole different issue.
Well, they're all addressed in the
They're all
legislation.
addressed in that bill, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Can I ask a
Has
question?
her hand up.
Sure, Teresa?
What type of lien are we talking about? Like, when you're talking about putting a lien against someone's property, are you talking utilities?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, right.
utilities,
Yeah.
fees.
The one I had was a trash bill that my
Taxes.
tenant wasn't paying the trash. And they liened my property on my taxes, never notified me.
Is that a separate lien, or is that going against the first half taxes?
That's right. So what happens is, right, and I'm not a state rep, but the bills eventually come to yours truly. But how it works is there are certain types of municipal charges that if they remain unpaid for a certain period of time, and if the municipality has been theoretically unsuccessful at collecting that debt, what then happens is the city council, by a majority vote, sends and certifies those unpaid debts to the county auditor first. The county auditor then certifies those debts to the tax roll and to the county treasurer to then collect. Once those debts come to my office, they are then treated as any other type of delinquent tax. So, and then it's up to the county treasurer to collect on it. And we all know how you collect delinquent taxes. You have a couple of options. You can ask nicely. That doesn't always work. The other option is enroll them in a payment plan, which sometimes those work. Sometimes people get on a payment plan and then void it after 1 or 2 payments, and then want to get on 6 or 7 more. But the other 3 ways are to sell a tax lien to recover that debt, and the 4th way is a foreclosure. And so it is perfectly legal in the state of Ohio, even if you as the property owner are paid up on your taxes, if somebody isn't paying their utility bill, those costs are then certified as a delinquency, and merely those unpaid balances can be foreclosed upon. So, yeah, it's a big deal. And we don't even, it's not like they call us and say, hey, the county treasurers are collecting that debt for free for the municipalities.
But that's only water and trash. That's not,
Okay,
that's not
Teresa.
electric and gas.
You know, water, sewer.
Let's get through the questions.
That was, I want to clarify, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay,
to
Mohammed
make
has
that-
a question here. Mohammed, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think we're forgetting something. I know, one, I got to defend my man. You guys took a shot at our great auditor, and he's not even here. I get it, but Republicans, you guys are in control of the House, the Senate, the governorship. You guys have total control of our government for the last 8 years. So, there's no excuses for it to be this low. Now, as a property owner, I think what a lot of people are worried about is, I had somebody who not paid their water bill, just a $2,000 water bill. Had I not had my name in the system and the city thankfully notified me, that would have went to John. That's the problem, right? I would have been responsible as the owner, and then there would have been a lien on my property, and I didn't know about it. That's a big issue. It's not just water and sewer. Some cities, if God forbid they don't cut their grass, they don't clean it up. So those are the kind of things that get tacked on to your taxes. And they can be tacked on for a long time sometimes without your knowledge. And that does need to be addressed as soon as possible. Thank you.
Rodney has a question, answer.
I just want to clarify, I've had many conversations with the auditor, and he is the one that made the motion at the Auditors Association to kill our bill. This isn't about Republican or Democrat. This isn't about Republican or Democrat. This is about lowering your property taxes, and we could not do it because the Auditors Association came out against the bill based on his movement.
Did he say what?
Well, so when you look at property taxes, property taxes are, continuing to go up because property values are continuing to go up. And I can tell you that I was on the floor on House Bill 187. Thomas Hall, my roommate in Columbus, he's from Butler County. It's his bill. And so House Bill 187 was simply trying to do business as usual. Usually you do a 3-year average for property taxes. Our tax commissioner felt like an unelected bureaucrat tax commissioner decided that they wanted to use the last year, which was the highest tax year, instead of using a 3-year average. House Bill 187 was simply taking Ohio property taxes over a 3-year average. So property taxes were still going to go up 15 to 20%. But what happened was the Auditors Association killed House Bill 187. Lobbyists have a lot of power up in Columbus, and some have more power than others. And I can assure you that if we would have continued to work on 187, the door was almost shut. We almost had a done deal. The Auditors Association had a meeting. I'd love to go into the details. There was like 40 counties there out of 88. And I promise you that your county auditor made the motion and the reason they wanted to kill this bill is because they said that there was going to be things that they didn't like about it. Well, I'm sorry, but when we have people that can barely afford to live in their homes, seniors, those that can't work, I don't care. Let's go ahead and make a decision. If there's some things that we don't like, we'll deal with that later. But my thing is, as a conservative, is keeping as much money in your pockets as possible. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. We're going to continue to work on that.
Thank you. Rose has a comment.
So I'd just like to make a comment on property taxes. If you actually look at your property tax bill, does anyone know the number one thing that your property taxes go to fund in the state of Ohio? Schools. Schools are the number one thing. So let's talk about that for a second, because if we're going to talk about property taxes, we cannot do it without talking about public schools. So since 1997, school funding in Ohio has been declared unconstitutional. It has never been fixed. And I will echo Mohammed in saying that Republicans have been the majority in control of our state for 26 of the last 33 years. They've had a legislative trifecta, meaning they've controlled the governorship, the Senate, and the House completely. And school funding has never been fixed. So if you drive through Centerville right now, you're going to see another levy that they're trying to pass. They haven't passed a levy 2 times, they're trying to pass a 3rd levy. If we do not pass school levies, what happens? Your property taxes are what fund the school. So they don't get enough funding from the state level because the people in charge continually cut funding to schools, libraries, and municipalities which pay for the police and fire. They continually cut that funding. Those places have no other option but to come to us. the property owners and raise our taxes year after year after year. I will tell you, I knocked on the door of a voter in Oakwood last week. He moved here from California several years ago. He said he could not believe how much more of a percentage of his value he's paying in property taxes here in Ohio than California. It is a result of the policies at the State House forcing our municipalities to come to us, forcing our schools to come to us, forcing our parks and libraries to come to us. The parks and the libraries are on the levy again, and you see their signs. This is what's happening, and this is why your property taxes are going up every single year. And if you want to change it, you need to send different people to Columbus.
What's your name, I'm sorry? Rose? Okay, Rose. First of all, let's be clear. If you understood state policy on education, you would know that the funding formula is not unconstitutional. There was a new one created and passed and implemented in 2021, written, advised, and implemented with superintendents, treasurers of schools, education people across the board. That's the formula we have. Do your research. The other thing is, the local property taxes, we are addicted to it. We have options, but local elected officials don't use it. We've given more money to schools in the last 4 years than any time in the last 15. So,
The state level.
at the state level, it's a huge portion of the budget. We have other priorities too. The funding formula for, or the money that we gave to vouchers, it's actually about $300 to $400 million, which is a big number. However, options work. And if you have charters in the city of Dayton and you have underperforming schools, that's fine. But we do need to work on the income levels of people who have vouchers. That, I don't agree with that. Do you agree with that, Andrea? And that's an issue. But I want to make it perfectly clear. It's easy to attack, but do your research. Do your research.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Anybody else?
I had a question.
We'll talk questions.
Okay, Scott, did you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment. I know that one of the issues with certain districts, and one was mentioned, is many of the citizens of the community tend to feel that the...
Your time is up.
5 seconds, it's over.
A lot of citizens feel like the city's not being responsible with their tax dollars. So there's two sides to it. I don't...
Mr. Miller.
Maybe open the window.
All right.
Thank you, Scott.
Come on. Finally, you sound more smarter than I am.
Thank you.
Scott, you were saying?
I just said that it seems like a lot of times, it seems like certain public schools, it's felt that they feel like they have a blank check. They'll simply run their budget over and then just ask the citizens for more money. And I think some people, specifically in the city of Centerville, I know several concerned citizens, that they feel like that they're the particular, that's just the comment I have.
I'm a Centerville resident.
Hi. Any other comments? Move on to the next question.
Okay, I got another question for you. How do you all feel about short-term rentals or Airbnbs in the city? We won't ask you. What is your feeling?
What's the House bill there?
It's House Bill 299, Senate Bill 299.
Let's ask some local people since they want to regulate them so much.
Say it again?
I don't think there's anyone, I don't think anybody here is from a city that wants, we're not cities, so I don't think anybody's running from a city local.
Okay, you don't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we don't regulate Airbnbs, we don't.
Some cities have put moratoriums on it.
They have. Yes, they have.
So the state bill is saying that you can have the people register their Airbnbs, but you cannot deny them completely in running them.
Sure, and I get it.
Yeah.
But none of us
Any other
control
comments
it.
anybody have?
Yeah, on that issue, the main point of it is to, I don't mean to dominate this, but I'm on the House Ways and Means Committee, so these are all the bills in those committees.
Usually does anyway.
Yeah, but what it does, again, it's a little bit more transparency. Local governments can say, please abide by our laws, our rules on noise, number of people, and things like that. I don't think that the bill is that onerous, because we need more, and Debbie, you know this, I mean, we need more hotels. We need more places for people to stay around here because we have a massive shortage. So I don't think it's a bill that's onerous or a deal breaker for short-term rentals.
Can I ask a question? This is a legitimate question. How do you balance that with like people who are saying, well, short-term rentals, and I own one, are taking away, inventory, housing stock, which we also need. I mean, that's the biggest complaint, right? I mean, people are saying, that's why a lot of cities are kind of working on putting I mean, that's a legitimate question. How do you balance that?
Well, if you're a businessman and an owner of a property, I mean, shouldn't we allow free markets to work?
Property owner rights.
Yeah, free markets.
And speaking of something along that line, what is your feelings locally about auxiliary dwelling units?
That's a county.
That's a county.
Well, kind of the county, but not, I mean, it's our local jurisdictions that have to allow the county. We can't just say the county says it's gonna happen. But that is an answer, and with our homeless solutions task force, we've been looking at that because it depends where they are, right? But we know that some of them are very well done. We've seen some of the great examples throughout the country, and we're behind on that, actually. And so we've been, our economic development team has been looking at different options that we can partner with our jurisdictions on, perhaps, because we get money, and John knows this. The land bank is for the first time actually building 40 homes. So because there's a lot of land available all over. Well, not in the south, they're pretty much landlocked, but in Clayton, we've got plenty out there. Trotwood has plenty, I mean, and Dayton has a lot of infill. So, but this is something that we're looking to you, the state, to put the parameters around it. I mean, it's gotta be something that, we can't just throw up tiny houses, hit or miss, So, it is something, a topic that we're talking about, and again, like I said, we're a little bit behind the rest of the country on this, but we certainly need it. As we look at the homeless solutions that we have now, and the apartments and the homes that are out there, we know that those aren't some of these aren't necessary for homeless, but they're a way that people can get into something right away, and not really expensive. So, Andrea?
To kind of build off what Debbie was saying, the whole aspect of access to capital, right? The land banks, we put $150 million in the budget for Welcome Home, okay? And just to make sure everybody understands, that's not just for building homes for the land bank, but also to be able to buy and rehab. So one of the things that I want to see more of, the state treasurer has a requirement that they have to invest a certain amount of the state, all our budget, all our money, into Ohio and keep it here. And so one of the bills I passed last General Assembly was AgLink, expanding access to farmers to have access to capital so that they could then, keep up with inflation that affects all of us with our food prices, as well as hospitals and universities, okay? So why are we not looking at putting in money for people like yourselves who should get some access to capital so that you can take homes before they're at the land bank stage, that are on the verge. And so how do we work more to identify those properties that you guys can come in, invest in, have either tax credits, as Tom was mentioning, or have access to loans at reduced rates, lower interest rate like the Treasurer's LYNN programs have. And so we need to continue to explore those options to build access to capital, because we can't legislate our way out of the housing crisis. We need more financial literacy, right? We need people that know how to pay their bills and do these sorts of things. And so that's why, yes, education is extremely important, but also access to capital for entrepreneurs who want to invest and turn around our communities. You know, we have too many dilapidated houses. We can't tear down all the houses that need torn down. So we need to learn how to capitalize and capture those homes before it's too late. And so we would welcome your input to try to work on that as we approach the next budget cycle, to put a chunk of money in there for entrepreneurs so that they can take advantage of that.
Good. Jerry has a comment.
During my time as mayor of Trotwood, we had those questions come up about modular homes. And the concern with the citizens were their property values. So I think the serious conversation is, where would you put these? How would they look? How would they blend with communities? And how would they not take away from people who have invested solely in their properties? So it is a huge question, but it does require some input from you, and it requires some input from citizens as to how they see their community. Because we do have a housing problem. And if we don't find ways to create affordable housing for people, we're not going to be answering like the questions of the future. People are hurting and jobs coming in the area. People are looking for affordable housing. We want to make sure that we are creating an atmosphere where your investment continues to grow and not diminish as a result of bad decision-making and leadership.
Thank you, folks. I just have one thing to talk about. City of Dayton is in favor of allowing ADUs on the properties, which is a very good sign. They're not that good all the time. They're not that cooperative, but they are thinking bigger about the housing issue. So that's a good news. Next question.
Question? Yes, we hear a lot about, is there a bill where, is there a bill in concerns with owners or landlords who buy properties who don't live in the city, state, or even the United States and don't take care of their property? We hear they're just collecting the money.
Driving out the rent. Yeah.
What is it?
It's Senator Blessing has a bill on this.
Thank you.
So, one. Okay.
Now, I always get told not to swear in public, so I'm trying hard with this microphone. But, so there is presently a bill right now that the County Treasurers Association, we're working very hard. It's actually our #1 bill, and it's Senate Bill 186, and it would do two things. Number one, it would require that all delinquent taxes be paid before a property can be sold or transferred, because we see that all the time. I'm sure y'all see it too, where people are just buying and selling delinquent properties. But the other thing would be, it would prohibit folks with back taxes from participating in foreclosure sales and buying even more properties. Because a lot of times what we see is it's the same folks, the same bad actors doing the same thing. These landlords who are not taking care of their properties, not paying the taxes, yet collecting the rent, are a lot of the same ones who are showing up at foreclosure sales buying even more, barely fixing them up. And so there are some really good proposed accountability standards. Another thing, and you mentioned, 1 minute left. Another thing that you mentioned, and this is really important to me, and this is a discretionary tool that county treasurers can do. If I wanted to, for all the foreclosure sales that I do, I could open up those sales online. So in the treasurer's tax foreclosures, I could say anybody with an IP address anywhere in the world can bid on these properties, and I said absolutely not. I said we're going to keep the treasurer's tax foreclosures in person, in Dayton, in the county building. So if you want to buy one of these properties, at least you got to get on a plane and come here. So because in some of these other states where they're opening them all up all over the place, you got folks with deep pockets and hedge funds out of Tampa and Phoenix and New York, and then all of a sudden you have all these absentee landlords. Look at places like Atlanta where, I mean, so many properties are, I know I got 5 seconds left.
It's a real problem all over the country.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for making that decision to not do that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for sure.
One of the
Question back there.
Can I ask you a question? So on the legislation in place for the delinquent taxes, so as a closing agent, when we're closing a loan and there are delinquent taxes, as long as we're collecting them at closing on the settlement statement, then they can do that. The legislation is not allowing them to buy them subject to instead of payment arrangements afterwards.
So,
Great question.
a lot of these real estate transactions that involve the sale or transfer of tax delinquent properties are done completely outside of the realm of industry professionals. So if you or I are purchasing a property and we have title agents, realtors there, these kinds of issues are going to be worked out, especially if you're in the market for a general warranty deed. But a lot of these folks are underground, so to speak. They're quick claiming these properties back and forth to each other. And right now in the state of Ohio, it's perfectly legal and it's perfectly absurd. So we have a great, and by the way, I could tell you a lot about some great accountability action we put into place. I took a look at the whole tax roll. Now, if you're here tonight and you're real estate investors, it means that you want to play by the rules and you want to know the rules. There are a lot of real estate investors who have huge real estate portfolios where every single one of the properties is tax delinquent. So one of the things that I did, I worked with my team, we looked at the tax roll of people who own huge swaths of real estate, all of which were delinquent, and we filed foreclosures on every single one of their properties all at once. All 12, all 13, all 14, we ain't doing this piecemeal nonsense. And it's amazing when you put people in the squeeze, now all of a sudden they got a whole lot of money coming to you that they said yesterday they never had. So a lot of times you work in the environment you have. Sometimes you're able to pull certain levers, you know, but there's a lot of nonsense. But fortunately, the Senate bill has gone through the Senate, and these guys are doing great work on property tax reform in Columbus, and so it's headed to the State House next. So we're hoping that bad boy sails through. So thank you.
So the answer to the question is,
Oh, sure,
as long
yeah.
as I'm collecting the delinquent taxes at my closing table and doing a legit sale, then that legislation is not going to stop people with the delinquent taxes from selling their property.
That deed will not be allowed to be transferred into somebody else's name until that delinquency is zero.
So then if I'm closing it, I have to bring the tax check and pay it before I file my...
It's got to be paid.
I'm going to have to hand carry it to the county.
Or you can mail it, you can certify mail it, you can pay online, I don't care how you do it, but I'm gonna need that money. And it's gotta be a zero balance, or that deed's not getting transferred at the auditor's office.
Okay.
Just one other thing that we're running into on the tax study committee is that and it's a very good question, is that the LLC shelter. And it is very difficult under the present tax code in Ohio to break out of the work that John's doing. I did not know that, is something that we have to do, because what happens is it's under the present tax code, it's very difficult to track multiple properties. It's just not outside of Ohio, but these LLCs and holding companies have multiple properties all over the state of Ohio too, and they also rip off the system with the rollbacks, with all kinds of things, homestead exemption, and all kinds of things. So,
You are aware of the new federal CTA tax that went into effect in January for everybody who has an LLC.
that's federal law, but we would like to implement. We'd like to implement a standard of finding out and identifying the bad actors. Perhaps that may be one that we can do. I'm not sure.
We have another question, yeah?
I just wondered, question kind of feedback for that. In regards to the taxes, I've looked into a lot of properties, and a lot of them have a lot of taxes that are worth more than what the property is worth.
Yeah, all day long.
And so I thought about, just a payment plan. But is there any other way that we can kind of negotiate the taxes?
Great question. I get this all the time. So No, there's not a way that you can negotiate the taxes or negotiate them away or anything like that. I wish, but it's not possible in the state of Ohio.
In fact, one of your questions that you had here kind of gets to that. I think it was on the back, something about, yeah, can there be kind of a negotiated settlement, if you will, with the county treasurer in order to effectuate a transfer and ownership of the property?
So some of y'all will remember a program called lot links.
Yeah. And that program
was possible by virtue of a statutory creature known as an expedited foreclosure. Here's where your point gets, I'm done with this. Here's where your point, here's where your point gets really important. For an expedited foreclosure, that's known as an administrative foreclosure. No court case, no sheriff's sale. It's an administrative foreclosure through the Montgomery County Board of Revisions in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code. Presently, because of some recent Supreme Court rulings, the only properties where that is possible is if the property is legally abandoned, including no squatters, so I can't wait for the squatter nonsense to get taken care of, no recent investments, no recent transfers, and, most importantly, the delinquent taxes must exceed the value of the home. So sometimes when you see a property where the delinquent taxes exceed the value of the home, that can actually be a good thing for purposes of transfer in ownership. Now, I wish it was still the way it was, where for an expedited foreclosure, it merely had to be abandoned. Because think about this, how long does it take a property to have to sit on the block to deteriorate to such a point where the delinquencies, the debt associated with that property exceeds the value? And by that time, are y'all really wanting to buy it? Because what's it going to take to fix it up? So, our state representatives and state senators are here. They've got a bill in front of them. I don't know where it's at in status, but it's the Land Bank Cleanup Bill. That Land Bank Cleanup Bill would clarify in the Ohio Revised Code that Ohio law is not Minnesota law, and so the United States Supreme Court decision really should not apply to the state of Ohio, and we're fine, which means we could return back to expedited foreclosures, which, as they used to be, where it didn't have to be underwater, so where we could get back to doing a lot more of these administrative transfers. But to directly answer your question, no, we can't negotiate it away. We can't, it has to be foreclosed upon, or, and I won't, there are some entities in Ohio, it's 5767, 37, that allow a qualifying nonprofit to be appointed as a receiver. In that instance, and I can't really give legal advice, but in certain circumstances, the judge can drop that gavel and say, delinquent taxes are disappeared. They're gone. So other than a foreclosure or a payment, really that's kind of the only other emerging tool that we see where the delinquent taxes can be made to go away. So, yeah, great question.
So I just want to step in and back up before delinquent taxes and stuff about the properties. One of the programs that I now have at I'm probably not the same problem. One of the programs that I have at the recorder's office now is called our Good Deeds program. And as I was dealing with deed fraud, one of the things that I saw was that a lot of the properties in our communities never make it to probate court. And so ultimately what is happening is that we have what are called tangled, twisted titles. So you have a grandchild that's been living in the house for 20 years, and eventually they walk away because they can't get a loan, they've never had insurance, things like that happen. Those are the properties that we see that could be viable at some point, but they are vacant too long, or they just walk away from them. And so our Good Deeds program now offers in our office for free affidavits of inheritance to help clean up those tangled, twisted titles, to get those properties out of the grandparents' names into the grandchild, or whoever's supposed to have it, so that it can get on the market. They can rent it, they can sell it, they can do something with it. We're also offering transfer on death designation affidavits so that people already have that in place. We hear you need a will, you need a will, you need a will. Well, I think what a lot of people in our community, especially where these houses are affordable, are properties where going to probate is probably more expensive than what the estate is worth. And so we now offer these forms for free in our office, so that when you come across these properties, and I'm sure all of you have come across the property where you're like, I want it, and it's 3 generations gone, and nobody knows how to get it together. Well, at the recorder's office, we now provide this service to try and help clean up these things and clean up these properties so that we can get them on the market and we can expand the number of affordable houses that are available for you to purchase and provide for the citizens in our community.
Yeah, I had something I wanted to say. I want to talk about the libraries and schools. I meet with a lot of people, and they're shy a lot of times, but they call me to tell me about it. And I'll tell you, the biggest thing about the library, and everybody was furious, we went in there and it was Veterans Day, and they had a pride flag up. They should have at least took it down for Veterans Day. So I will tell you, a lot of people are not going to vote for levies for the library because of that reason. We have our veterans that have fought for us, given their lives for us, and we can't hang up a veterans flag in our library with our own tax dollars. I'll tell you, they're furious. They are furious, and they should be, because this country was fought on veterans, and my dad was a veteran, and a lot of veterans aren't even getting houses, and nobody's helping them. And I am really sick of it. I help them, and I work with a few groups to help them, but I want to tell you, they're not going to vote for school levies, and they're not voting for libraries, because they told me, and they told me why, and I told them I agree with them.
Thank you, Tammy, for bringing that up. Thank you. Okay, do we have any other cards with the printed questions?
Only printed questions would be answered.
Yeah, more cards.
Yeah, we got something.
What did you all think about, especially in the city, about closing the eviction records so we can't check on a tenant as if they've had been evicted?
It's absurd.
Of the sealing of the eviction records?
Yeah, sealing
That's
of
crazy.
eviction records. But it happened.
Yeah.
We just
Oh, the city?
argued away.
In the city?
It's very short.
A lot of things happen in the city. They don't agree with things.
It's not Ohio Revised Code.
But the judges did it, the local judges did it.
Yeah, local judges did.
That's in another year of election.
Yeah, blame me on that, but you won't take any blame for anything else.
There's national policy.
You control the house.
It makes it difficult when you're telling us you want us to screen, put good people in houses. We want good people that are going to take care of our houses for us. And we can't, you don't hire employees without checking or doing a background check.
Right.
And we're not allowed to look at backgrounds.
Agreed.
It really ties our hands.
Well, I will tell you, any legislation coming forward to incentivize tax credits, which we're looking at another $383 million coming through the state of Ohio, we will supersede the local control on that, I guarantee you.
Part of it is fair housing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We cannot screen the tenants like we want to. The eviction records are sealed, so how do you know?
Yeah, I get it.
There could be a period of time after which we don't have to, but at least for the 2 to 3 years, we need to know what their history is, because we don't want to go through the same process the previous landlords went through.
I agree. Can we talk about this legalization of recreation use of marijuana?
I'd like to. And then can we talk about renters doing it?
Yeah, I want to see that. I mean, I don't know what the status is. I'm just asking.
Well, you know, it's okay for us if we want to grow marijuana or use marijuana recreationally. What can I say to my tenant? What rights do I have, any rights at all, saying to my tenant, you can't, or you can only grow so many pots? Or if the electric goes way up, I know that they're growing it with the grow lights. What rights do I have?
Well, municipalities have rights. And so there have been cities who've put a moratorium on sales.
On sales?
On sales.
No, but this is the use of tenants using our properties to do these things. We have to have some kind of control.
They could rent a house and use it for nothing but a grow site.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that make all the out-of-state money that tries to control Ohio if it can.
I think there are rules about not running a business out of, like, you can prohibit people from running a business.
Not running a business, they're going for themselves.
Oh, just running for themselves.
Well, plans.
But isn't there a?
Well, I think that it's
One-third of
actually
a kilo.
contained in the statute that a landlord is allowed to give rules on their private business property. And the same thing applies with recreational marijuana. Now, that was a citizen-initiated statute, you know, that the voters put forward and the voters passed. And so, you know, in terms of that, we can get some information to your association about that if that would be helpful. But that has come up several times, but you have private property rights when you rent to people. And so, as long as it doesn't conflict, of course, with the housing laws, yeah.
Fair housing.
Yeah.
I'm on the board.
You're on the board?
Yes.
If your lease, which the tenant signed, says in there, no smoking on the property,
Yes.
is this smoke?
Yes.
Yes.
And so that could eliminate the smoking of it there. And so if you have a multi-unit, you have a common area, that smell is disgusting. So in that case, with that being in the lease, and they sign it, then you could say, hey, you can't smoke it, you know, you're violating your lease.
So, okay.
Then you guys were having
What do y'all feel about it? This is something that I have read about federally, but not locally, about preventing foreigners from buying land within 25 miles of a military installation.
Totally opposed to it.
Sorry?
Totally opposed to it. We have bills in the works.
I didn't realize, as I said, I have heard about it nationally, but I didn't think it was a problem locally.
Yeah.
You with us on that, Mom?
I'm not running for Senate or state, so it's not a local issue.
So you're for
I
it.
have a question. Would that prevent people from living in Dayton then, within 25 miles of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base?
Not living, they're buying land.
Buying land.
So just for land?
It's
Foreigners.
Corners,
Yeah.
especially close to our bases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Creech?
It's a federal.
Yeah, I think, you know, this is something it's more related to agriculture in a lot of instances. You know, I am 100% against our foreign adversaries purchasing land, but they can control our food supply and many other things, but I think it's a slippery slope because I also believe in property owner rights. And so, you know, where the slippery slope is, I invest in farm property. I mean, we buy property and it's on 4th generation, so it's not for sale. But a lot of, you know, families, the population that's farming passes away, the family gets the property, it's an investment. And so I think where it's a slippery slope is, you know, if you have land for sale, I think it should go to the highest bidder. That's what I believe, but I also support the bill. but I think we have to be careful because of property owner rights. I don't want somebody telling me who I can and cannot sell my land to. So I'm not trying to talk out both sides of my mouth, but I think we have to be very careful.
I feel that I'm trained too well. Sound like it.
Can I bring up a issue?
So the city of Beaver Creek actually addressed this issue, which there is a committee on foreign investment in the United States, CFIUS, so you cannot, as a foreign person, purchase land without submitting a CFIS ruling in the city of Beaver Creek. So there's actually a precedent for municipalities taking action on this. So, and I support home rule and municipalities taking action that they feel is important. So that's just one example of how that's actually being done in the Dayton area, and I think other municipalities are welcome to follow that example.
One thing I wanted to bring up, guys, is some of you have talked about the delays in trying to renovate property. It's in the local people processing, right? There's not enough workforce to be able to review the applications or whatever it is that's taking too long, so that it slows your ability to rehab properties. And so that is something that I'm interested in learning more about. I've talked to some of you, Mike and others, about how do we go ahead about looking at workforce issues, continuing to build, and I think it's important for us to identify these log jams in the work that you do and look at if it's something at the state level we can fix, something at the local level we could fix, but that is something that has come up.
Yeah. Can I add to that? So it is an issue. I'll try it. I'll try it. Let's see. So, you know, in our county, I can't speak to other counties, but in Montgomery County, you know, we do some of the building regs for jurisdictions, and then like the city of Dayton does their own, and everybody has kind of different things, rules, and sometimes it takes longer. Like right now I'm hearing in Dayton from some of my entrepreneur friends that are opening up places, it could take up to 6 months, okay? And so that's not okay, but here's the problem is the workforce, right? I mean, we have to get more people in the workforce. So what we have done, we've totally streamlined just in the past year and a half, our processes at Montgomery County. And so we've purchased software, and now people don't even have to come down to the county buildings, okay? But this is something that goes, and I hear from the home builders all the time, I hear from others. We have addressed this through software. We've also though had to go out and get temporary employees. And because this is not just around here, there are not enough people, building inspectors out there. So we can encourage people to become building inspectors, I guess, but we're trying to think of the things, buying the latest software, doing virtual building inspections. That's a new thing too that we're doing as well. So it is an issue. Andrea, thanks for bringing that up. It's one of those that it's not just facing our region, it's everywhere.
Okay, guys, we're gonna go around the table. If you got any last thoughts on anything that we discussed about it, real quickly, 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
1 minute. 1 minute. One last question here. We'll wrap it up.
So, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. First, I just want to say I appreciate you guys. We talk so much about shortage in Montgomery County, but then again, when we're trying to purchase a house, it takes a lot. I mean, the process itself, to find it from the county is, it's just, I don't get it, I bought a house a year ago from Land Bank. They don't have it anymore. Usually we get an email or anything, but I always ask, you guys don't have any more properties? They always said, well, I mean, I don't know what to hold up, it's just annoying.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So that a big part of the shortage in supply with Land Bank and others is directly correlated to what I was talking about earlier with the Supreme Court ruling that no longer allows for the volume of properties to be acquired by expedited foreclosure. Because the only two entities that can request to the treasurer that an expedited foreclosure happen are a land bank or a city or a township. So when that Supreme Court ruling happened, when they said, no, the only ones that can be acquired through expedited foreclosure are where the debts must exceed the value, now all of a sudden 85, 90% of what was in the pipeline, literally, they had to say, cancel it out, no more. So that's a big reason why. And it's really, really frustrating. But I won't bore you with the details, but what happened was there were multiple concurrent lawsuits going at the same time challenging these expedited foreclosures in lots of different states. And what happened was they all landed at the United States Supreme Court at the same time, and the Supreme Court based their decision on state law in another state, where their expedited foreclosures were frankly barbaric. So now all the other states are working with their buddies in the state legislature to try and put some word into statute saying, we ain't Minnesota. So if that land bank bill passes, we can get back to ordinary business. And so we can start getting these expedited foreclosures moving again at the rate they used to. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Yes, we've been working very hard on that.
Thank you very much. We'll go here from Rodney here. Just real quickly, 1 minute, or less. Real quickly, any other final comments? Closing remarks. Yeah, 1 or 2 minutes.
You can put that sign down, so I can take a minute. I think, the main thing is appreciate you all being here tonight, but keep in mind that we work for you every day. So, if you have an issue, reach out to us. I think when I get an opportunity to talk to groups, I always say, we have phones, we have cell phones. So be sure if you have an issue, it doesn't have to wait until an event like this. Make sure and reach out to us, reach out to our offices, whatever it is, but we're here for you.
And thank you so much. Many of you realize there are a lot of challenges in Montgomery County. There are new people and new voices that are looking to be a part of a new thing. And that's solving problems for people that really, really want to see problems solved. You have an opportunity here. I'm asking for your support. I want to bring a new voice. I've dealt with lots and lots of challenges and overcome lots of things in the city that people have written off. We're here now. We're offering the opportunity to bring that to the county, and I'm asking your support in November. Mary McDonald for County Commission.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the organizers for having us. Appreciate you guys. And I know it's tough to wrangle all of us here from different views, especially Phil and I, and sometimes John and I. With that said, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of you. The issues, you can see both sides. We agree on some things, but I think it's clear that change is needed in some of these areas, and I think our side represents the best chance for us to move forward. So I would urge you to vote Democrat up and down the ballot this coming election. Thank you. Lower my real estate taxes in Washington Township. I love immigrants. I'm an immigration lawyer, so.
Thank you also. I'll echo so much for having me here. It's wonderful to meet all of you. And I do feel like if you want to see some changes in some things, we need to send different people. We can't make changes with the same people that we have. And one of the things that I hear at the door as I talk to voters all throughout this district, it's their property taxes that are killing many of them. Seniors are getting priced out of their homes because while the property taxes increase, their fixed incomes don't increase. And that probably also affects the people who pay rent to you. The property tax increases, you have to pass that along to them in increased rent, and their income is not increasing at the same level. So if we want to change this, if we want to send people who are going to fight for responsible spending in our state government, I hope you'll vote for me. I'm Rose Lounsbury, and I look forward to being your next state representative.
This was very
It's not working.
Just own it. Just own it.
Own it.
Own it.
Own it.
Grab that thing.
This was very educational for me in terms of setting policy, just hearing what the concerns are. But I've also heard it from people in Montgomery County. They're concerned about taxes, they're concerned about inflation. But one of the things I'm also hearing about is how do we start a system of what we call safe and flourishing communities, being sure we have various housing options. There's too many regulations. There has to be a streamlining in administrative procedures for land acquisition, refurbishing. How do we be sure that we have what's needed to give everybody the options that they want? I am a fighter. And one of the things, I was taking notes because one of the things I'm hearing from a lot of people is what happens to the next generation? Are we creating wealth management? Are we wealth creation and management? And knowing that land is resources and that everyone has different housing opportunity, options and opportunities. I'm Charlotte McGuire. I want to be your 6th district senator working with all these local and state people to bring about the quality of life that we want here in Montgomery County, knowing that land and housing are resources. We need options and opportunities for every unique individual and family. It needs to be cost effective, and I believe in free markets which will allow us to innovate and make better the future for Montgomery County. I'm Charlotte McGuire, for your senator for District 6, and together we can win.
Okay, well, as the state representative for the past 4 years, I have relied on basically having a lot of experience working on really difficult issues, whether that was a business consultant, clerk of court, a community volunteer, activating groups to do hunger initiatives, teen alcohol and drug prevention, helping build positive youth development. But the bottom line is, we have a lot of challenges. In the legislature, in our caucus, we talk about what's great, these jobs are coming to Ohio, but do people have the skills they need in order to accept the jobs? Do they have the house to live in? Do they have the transportation and the child care to be able to go to work? And so we need to do more to help all of our citizens be able to work and have a productive life, rent houses from you guys, build and invest in communities. And so the bottom line is, I'd like to keep leaning in, working across the aisle to get problems solved and get things done involving all of you. And thank you so much for including us and engaging us and enlightening us always these past 4 years. I ask for your vote. Andrea White. Thank you so much.
Again, I want to thank you guys for coming out and letting us know what you guys are seeing out there. It's very important to us so we can go back and work on policy. We have a lot of talk about taxes. Rows we cut, income tax. We have 2 tax brackets left. The poorest working Ohioans do not pay income tax. We're trying to help out the poor people that are struggling, but a lot of the property tax are local issues. Libraries are on, state parks are on, or parks are on this time. There's 2 levies. You know, if you vote yes on them, your property taxes go up. Human service levy, Debbie, we need to help the struggling people. That's probably going to be on next time. You know, a lot of these taxes are local, you guys. And we're trying to do what we can in the state for you, but you know, we need to, as citizens, find out what's working, where our tax dollars are going, and what's not working, and fund what is working. You know, I mentioned mental health. We're at a 38% cut in mental health this year in our community. That is terrible. So we got to look at what services are working, fund the ones that are working, don't fund the ones that aren't working, really come up with a strategy here to start helping people. Andrea's done a great job in Columbus. You know, there was a shooting on the west side. Police officers shot a young man. Me and Andrea were in there. Debbie was in there. We're in the streets with the community. We weren't sitting in our house making up problems. We were out in the community solving problems. So I appreciate your guys' vote, and we'll do 2 more years in the House with your help. And keep us informed, you guys. We need you. We don't know everything, but we can work on your needs.
Thank you for having us. Your input is very, very important. You learn something new every day, and it's listening to you. I'll leave you with this. There are 98 taxing jurisdictions in Montgomery County. Yep. There are 99 CAUV soil types that are all taxed differently in Montgomery County. We are the 2nd highest tax rate in the state of Ohio, barely behind Cuyahoga County. We have duplication of services. We have communities with their own silos. We have unelected people who can raise your taxes and put issues on the ballot. So we've got to address that. And you get a menu, believe me, you get a menu every time there's an election on what tax you want to put on your property. Thank you for having us.
So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Sham, and thank you, Judy Rhea, and all the members for being here. I'm John McManus. I'm the county treasurer. It's been an honor serving you the last 4 years. I'll tell you one thing I've really enjoyed about tonight is hearing both Republicans and Democrats talking about lowering these damn property taxes. We agree on something. There you go. So it's great. But it's been wonderful. It's been great serving as your treasurer. I thank you immensely for what you do in ensuring that we're getting some of these blighted, these neglected, these abandoned properties, but not all of them. and turning them around and putting them into the asset category again and the revenue generating category again, not just for your own pockets or your employees and your families, but also for local governments. So I thank you very much for what you do. I ask for your vote on or before November 5th. Remember, vote McManus and vote often. There you go.
He didn't mean that.
I thought you said you were the one who said
I want to take a moment and thank you. You know, we've got this crew right here. We've had a lot of events, a lot of candidates tonight, and this one has been the most fun. Thank you very much. And informative, too, to hear from you. You know, I just want to thank you for your investments that you make in our county, in our cities. You know, as the state rep said, all those taxing jurisdictions, we have 31 jurisdictions in the county. So I've worked on many different ways of trying to collaborate and build this and have a unigov, but they have to change the law for us to do that. But that's neither here nor there. But one of the things when I didn't at the beginning with my 2 minutes that I didn't get to talk about change, pre-COVID, we were able to do entrepreneur grants, micro enterprise grants. And I really want us to get back to that with some of our funding, our economic development funding, because you guys as entrepreneurs are the ones that you're on the ground and you're making a difference in our community. So I want to make sure we do that. And our tagline, and my tagline at the county, is investing in people. And we do that in many different ways, but I want to make sure that we keep investing in all of you because you're investing in our community and making it better. Some of the things real quick that I do that I'm a champion for, I spend a lot of time on initiatives, our child care, our early child care, economic mobility, our returning citizens that I share with Judge Rice, workforce development, and infant mortality. And in my spare time, I just love learning more about county government, about local government. I've become an expert at that, and I'm asking for your vote because experience matters. Thank you.
I let everyone have the floor tonight as a congressional issue. Give me an extra minute too, Scott, or a brief 30 seconds. I'd just like to comment on some of the things here tonight. Property taxes. It is absurd that we put the increased working classes people and the property owners' property taxes. In my opinion, on the federal level, as rich as this country is, why the heck are we putting that burden on the owners and also on the working class? It's unfair. Okay, so I do not support increasing property taxes on people. And also, too, you have no control over Wall Street getting control of your real estate market and then gouging everybody, and then all of a sudden, the housing market's gone up, and wow, we got a huge tax bill now. Working class people cannot afford that, and also, the owners cannot afford that either. It's a market manipulation, and it used to be illegal. American land being sold. I think American land should go to American farmers and be used. Why are we selling land to Brazil, China? It's absurd. American land needs to be used for American farmers, for American food production, in my opinion. Eviction records being sealed in squatters, that is just totally unfair that the landlords are being put in that position. If the government and the laws are going to put you in that position where you have no idea the risk that you're taking, at the very least, hey, maybe on the federal level, hey, let's kick a little money to our landlords and maybe give them for extra risk that they're having to do. Right now, they're leaving you guys out there to the wolves, and you're getting taken advantage of. That's not right. Marijuana rights. As a current renter and a current person who has one plant in their backyard, just let us grow some weed. Treat it like a tomato plant. Treat it like a tomato plant. We don't smoke indoors. Treat it like a tomato plant. Regulate it like that. Increased electric bills. I think that might be a thing of more of the past now. Now it's a regulated market. I think you'll see that decrease with the big grow ops that used to happen. But treat it like a tomato plant is what I would say. Okay. And then for the veterans and the flag, it is disrespectful how we treat our veterans in this country. How about all flags? Let's quit being outraged by everything and let them fly their flags. And if it was up to me, we wouldn't have any combat veterans in this country because I wouldn't have sent you to Iraq. Afghanistan, sure as heck not going to land, or would not vote to put any American boots on the ground for any Middle Eastern wars either that are on the horizon. Thank you. I'm not going to fight with the microphone.
All right, thank you so much for having me this evening. Again, I'm your Montgomery County Recorder, Stacey Benson Taylor. And, as I stated earlier, when I came into office, I wanted to work with our property owners to figure out how to combat some of the challenges and obstacles that we were seeing, which was deed fraud at the time. And so I am the only recorder in the state of Ohio that checks notaries on quick claim deeds. I'm the only notary. The only recorder in the state of Ohio that requires IDs for people when they present quick claim deeds. And I am hopeful that next week we will have, under my watch, the first ring going to the grand jury for prosecution. And so, we believe that we should make sure that these properties, when you're purchasing them, that they belong to you and that the titles are good. And so we have upped the enrollment in our fraud alert notification system. From December, we had 13,000 people enrolled. We now have over 13,000 properties. We now have over 26,000 properties enrolled in the FAN system. And that's because many of you have your properties enrolled in the FAN system. And so we're helping keep track of that. And then also our Good Deeds program, opening up these properties that we have in our community so that you can continue to invest in our community and ensuring that people's properties are secure without going through probate court. We've also created our mobile veterans ID program. So now where we record DD 214s, that's one of our statutory duties as the recorder's office. We now offer that as a mobile service. And so one of the things that I've done is increase our community engagement. And so this Saturday in Trotwood at our Against Bullying rally, we will be recording DD 214s out in the field and issuing veterans IDs. And because I believe that part of being a public servant is not just connecting with the community, but connecting the community with the resources that are available. And so we're in the community and we're working on the issues that you as investors find and believe to be important about your property. And so I do have an opponent. She's not here. But in order for us to continue this work, you have to keep me in office and vote for Stacey Benson Taylor. Thank you.
Last but not least, so Lynn Cooper, running for the Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. It's been fascinating. My office is administrative, so I have no policy-making ability, I have no law-making ability. It's been fascinating listening to everybody, and I've learned a lot. I've tried to think, how does this office intersect with everything? And in this office is where the foreclosures are filed. Back in 2010, I was part of the developing and implementing team for the e-filing system. We were the first in Ohio to have a fully integrated e-filing system, which expedited the foreclosure process. Not the Board of Revision process, but the regular foreclosures. So I believe in efficient government. I want to make it faster. I want to make it better for you guys. I'm also developing our new system. We are starting a new case management e-filing system. And so I'm excited. I'm kind of a techie geek, so I want to help you guys get this information for foreclosures. If you're getting properties through foreclosures, I want to help you get it done faster. I believe data is king. So if there's any data that's going to be available that we can get for you guys as investors, I will work with you guys as the Clerk of Courts to be able to get you the information that'll help you make decisions better. So I hope that you will vote Cooper for Clerk in November.
Once again, I just wanted to thank everybody, especially our legislators or our candidates, for spending their time with
Greater Dayton REIA is a great source of information for real estate investors. You can learn what you need to do to succeed. You can learn the different opportunities that there are in the marketplace, and you can meet a lot of people that know about this from their own experience.
It's a fantastic organization because you can network with more seasoned investors. You meet all kinds of different vendors each time, insurance companies, title companies. There's always a different group of people here. And even though I've been involved in real estate since '99, every time I come to a meeting I learn something different. You could also find contractors here. It's just a really great way to network.
The benefits that I've gotten from the registry over the years is being able to tap into a pool of knowledge from experienced investors, experienced speakers that allow me to overcome any obstacles I might have from what I'm not familiar with.
In GE we learned that this is a team sport, and being a landlord requires quite a few people to help. In GE we found our accountant, attorney, property manager, realtor who furnishes the leads for the properties, and I believe the appraiser.
In 2010 to invest, the whole team was there. I had a property manager, realtors who had deals, and now I have 4 houses that are all turnkey solutions. I've invested in private LLCs. I've even bought a note. So by joining an organization like GD REIA, you too can learn how to be a good investor.
And we are an approved vendor with GD REIA. We've been with you guys about 4 or 5 years now, and we love networking with the members, and we're here to help. So anything that they need help with, you can find us here every meeting and ask us whatever questions you need to.